Hi, Hormoz. It will be wonderful to start our conversation by hearing from you how you got involved with results, and what's the story behind it.
Thank you, Saif. It's really good to have this conversation, actually. I don't usually do this, but it's also good to think back to 12 years ago. A result was established in 2012, and it was when I went skiing, would you believe, and met this other chap called Andy Hilton, who's also a coach, and we got talking. We both were doing different things in terms of professional coaching, and we wanted to work much more closely with marginalized people. He was already doing that to a large extent, mainly working with people with HIV. But I had mainly worked in the private sector and with executives, etc. I wanted to get much closer to experiences that people had with their lives and the challenges that they had, etc. So um, that was the beginnings of results. It was the first work we did. And then a year later, Jane, who I had met, Jane Cordell, that is, who I had met in within that year, was asked to become the third director. And then we went on from there. Um, Focusing on several areas of marginalization because of our own lived experiences, um, and also working with organizations who want to look at equity, diversity, and inclusion as a big part of their culture. So that's the story of result. And then, we've really gone strength to strength in that 12 and a bit years that we have been working in this area. We have grown with a big number of associates, and it was great to meet you, Saif, about a year ago. And so if you could tell us a bit more about you, um, and then also how you met us, how we met each other, rather, that would be brilliant. So over to you.
Of course, of course. It's wonderful hearing about how result came about, through what I heard from you. Um, with like my career and almost career choices have always been influenced and driven by my longing to work in the social justice field,
So,
particularly with communities who have experienced some marginalization for whatever reason. And this basically stems from witnessing and experiencing a range of injustices in the world. I like whether like me personally, from my when it comes to my lived experience, I have experienced marginalization in various shades, from othering behaviors to systemic discrimination to racial violence, all the way to a racial crime that I was at the receiving end of it, which I was fortunate to survive as well. Um, so as I mentioned to you, so like my inspiration has always coming from seeing these injustices, as well as seeing the hope and the positive change that people individually can do and collectively, to address these challenges and injustices. And the first thing I was inspired to create was a social enterprise in the Southwest, where I lived for about 11 years. Um, and it was about the focus of that social enterprise was to support people from global majority backgrounds, including people who are displaced in the area, in the rural areas of the Southwest. Um, and from there, basically I ran that social enterprise for about 7 years. During that time, I connected with amazing organizations who do work with people from global majority backgrounds, including the Entrepreneurial Refugee Network in London. I ended up working with them for about 4 years, running business incubators to support refugees gain financial independence by running their own businesses. And that led me to being part of the social entrepreneurship program, Ideas into Action. That Result has collaborated with Turn to run it. And that's how I got in touch with you the first time, which was about 3 years ago, I think.
Yes, yes.
And it was such an honor to work with you, Jane, and members from the Turn community.
That was or has been such a wonderful program, as you say, over 3 years. And it was great to actually meet people like yourself and all the turn people who are so committed to support, to give that support that social entrepreneurs with some great ideas have, from refugee backgrounds, to enable like that for dreams come true. It might sound a bit corny, but I don't care. But because some dreams have come true in that way by that program being there. So it's quite interesting. You talk about otherness and those experiences that we've had, which created that. As you say, it's not just one thing; it's a series of things that have happened to us in that marginalization area that have brought us here. So, it's also now great to see that you have joined us as a co-director to result. I think it happened in April or May, if I'm not wrong,
Correct.
of 2024. And so it's relatively new, but a big welcome to result. Um, and especially as I have written about this in blogs, etc., it's been announced that I am stepping back from the everyday running of Result. Um, it's great to have come this far with the work that we've done, which has been so enriching, and just to gradually work myself back uh, and extract myself is still a privilege because I will continue with the work. Uh, and to have someone like you joining in terms of the legacy that will continue really satisfies me. Um, so welcome here, Saif. What do you look forward to? I mean, this might be a very difficult question, but what kind of things do you look forward to, looking ahead in terms of getting involved with?
Sure, sure. First, thank you for having me. And it's an absolute honor to work with you and Jane, and the network of amazing coaches that work under Result to
But
support marginalized communities.
very lucky.
And something that really inspired me about Result is the approach that you have to delivering the work. In my other work, I work with community leaders to support them start or develop social enterprises and community projects to serve community groups in the local areas where they live. And what I love about what Result does, Result basically has created this pool of coaches with lived experiences of marginalization, people who empathize deeply with the struggles that people on the ground have. They have walked the journey and they did overcome some of those challenges. They are professional. They are expert in their field, not because of the skills only that they have, but also because of the experience that they have experienced themselves. So what I love about this work is that we're working with people on the ground, people who are impacted by life challenges, people who are impacted by social injustices and systemic injustices. And that for me is kind of like I couldn't be closer to supporting people directly. Um, um, and when I say supporting, here I'm like with my approach, with the spirit that I'm bringing to this work. is how can we support people access a fuller version of themselves while honoring the challenges, while honoring the life difficulties and life limitation and their life limitations, but really accessing the big picture of who they become and get closer, move closer to the center of belonging in society.
Fantastic. Yeah.
And that for me fuels my work and that fuels my choices. And what I look forward to when it comes to working with results is basically being involved in that collaborative spirit that you have, that you already created in working with other service providers to support their service users. In designing programs to meet the actual needs that those groups need. And this is, once again, part of the approach that Results has always been using, is creating tailored programs to meet the different needs. And I love that you mentioned the legacy because that's something I'm really passionate about in terms of how can we develop that pool of incredible coaches with lived experiences to meet the needs in society, where the legacy can basically continue beyond the founders. And I've seen this a lot, for example, with people that I work with and support who lead organizations, where people forget that the founder doesn't equal the organization.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And how can we move from the operational role to basically investing in the legacy so it basically lives beyond the life of the founder. So that's something I'm really looking forward to as well.
That's superb, Saif. You know, it's exactly having these kind of conversations with Jane, yourself, and myself that we knew, given that the values are all the same, the vision is the same, it's such a good match. And in terms of reassurances to everyone that has worked with and liked working with results, this will continue. There's no doubt about it. It's such a strong position to be in. So with that, I say a double welcome to,
Thank
to result. And all the best in the future. I will obviously be keeping an eye from a distance, even when I'm not involved, because this is such an important um, part of my life for the past 12 years that I've been doing the work in. So all the best to you.
thank you. Thank you. And best of luck with transitioning out into your new way of living and new way of engaging with the result as well, because that's going to continue to um, um, yeah, with a fresh approach. Uh,
Thank you
maybe.
so much, Safe.